What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. You can call me Captain Jack Sparrow. Why can't I remember the name of the main character in The Expanse? Captain James Holden, there we go. Welcome to 5-Inch Friday. Get your 5-inchers out. We're gonna waggle them around and sword fight and pee our names in the snow. No, that's a different 5-inch. Look at this. Look at this beastly, beast. The beast. This is the scratch build from last night. This is the FPV Cycle Cineglide. Yeah, it is done. I put another like hour and a half or so in to get the motors on here and get that all neat and tidy. And yeah, it is, man, fresh builds, yo. Before you start beating them all up, what I like about doing these cinematic builds is that they don't get beat up. So yeah, this will stay in some semblance of this cleanliness for a while, maybe forever. You never know. So I put the Hero 8 mount on. So like last night and previously. So the story behind this build is I built this for this live flying event coming up. It's a bicycle race, pedal bike race in April, and they're going to stream my DJI feed directly to their TV truck and out into the universe. So I need to have no props in view. I need to have the DJI camera as far forward as possible, which this frame does beautifully. Like, you know, if you think about a big wide field of view on that FPV cam there's no way that even these 5.5-inch props will be in view. So this frame is really perfect for that. I've had the session mount on it, which is, you know, narrow. Well, just now I put the Hero 8 mount on it, and I've got these new GemFan 5536 props, and there's a little bit of a problem. So this side's not as bad, but this side's real bad. So yeah, I guess that this is a 30-degree Hero 8 mount. Maybe with like a 20 or a 10-degree Hero 8 mount, it would be fine because it would rotate up and it would move this back part of it out of the way here. But yeah, the 5.5-inch props will not work with a 30-degree GoPro Hero 8 mount, which is totally fine. I'm not gonna run a GoPro at this event. I'm gonna put the session mount back on it as like an airbag, basically, in case I crash it. You know, it gives you something. Do that with your TPU. Never, ever, ever, in my opinion, run your rigs without at least the TPU. It's like a 20-gram weight penalty, but if you smash into something with the TPU on, it's gonna make a big difference. It's gonna absorb a bunch of the energy. So yeah, I'm just gonna run it with the session mount on, and maybe I'll probably throw the session into it for a couple of batteries just to get, you know, some fun footage. But yeah, if you're gonna run the Hero 8 mount, you got to either go lower camera angle with it or don't run 5.5-inch props. So now you know. I ended up running the battery lead out the side here. And I strain reliefed it to the top plate. Got everything all measured up. This lead is just barely long enough for running the 1400 mAh 6S Tattoo R lines on here with the cable wrapped around itself, tucked in all nicely. My God, it's just this is a pretty build, man. I gotta be honest here. I think maybe I'll put a little piece of foam up here. Maybe not. I don't know. It sits down and lands on these front socket head M3 screws, which, I mean, I don't love, but it's not the end of the world. In the rear, it sits down on these nice thick arm guards that BMC 3D made me. So in the rear, it's totally fine, but yeah, in the front, it's gonna land on metal, which, yeah, you know, I'll probably end up putting a piece of foam here. It's hard to, I don't know any other way. Like, there's just this one little spot to put foam. There's really nowhere else there's no foam that's going to be thick enough anywhere else to get the job done. So yeah, I'll probably just throw a little square up there just to give it a little rubber baby boogie bumper. So yeah, Cineglide is ready to go. Tonight, we're going to be plopping some motors onto the Razorback. And they're going to be white motors. They are the FPV Cycle 25mm Imperials in 2150 kV, I think it is. And then I'm going to motor limit them down quite a bit because this rig is for going real fast. This rig wants to go fast! So it runs a really pitchy prop. I run GemFan 5152 propellers on it. They are heinously pitchy. You do not need 2150 kV on 6S for that pitchy of a propeller, but luckily, Betaflight has amazing motor limiting in the PID tab, which will just take care of that. And I've done a ton of testing with it, and in the real world, I don't see any decrease in runtime or durability or anything. On the thrust stand at 100% throttle, yes, there is a small loss, but over the course of a battery, you spend a sum total of probably 5 seconds at full throttle, right? Because we only really like stab full throttle and then come right off of it. So in the real world, there's no reason to not motor limit down. And quite honestly, the benefits that you get from using the motor limiting far outweigh the, 0.5% of runtime that you might lose. So yeah, do it. I really, really, really do suggest you guys run a higher kV motor than you need, and then motor limit it down at least a little bit. Even if you only motor limit down to like 90%, it's really nice, because if you go out to like a gigantic spot, or if you want to run like a 4-inch prop or a 4.5-inch prop or a really low pitch propeller and you want more power out of it, you can do that. If you're running like a 1600 kV motor on a regular 5-inch freestyle rig, you're at 100% all the time, whether you like it or not. So yeah, a little bit of motor limiting is a really, really, really good thing. And to be honest, I've tested motor limiting all the way down to like 60%, and I can't tell a difference. I can't tell a difference in runtime and feel in anything. That's 2400 kV motors on a 6S battery. It just works. And the PID loop figures, even if you have to mix, it works for the same reason that you can mix KVs, and the PID loop just figures it out. The PID loop runs at either 4K or 8K. That's 4,000 times a second or 8,000 times a second. That it's like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? So it, like, you could have 4 completely different KVs at that, it's refreshing so often that it just figures it out. It's really, really cool. So do it. In the chat, hey, this is my full-time job. If you want to support me, head over to CiottiFPV.com. Lots of ways that you can help your boy out. Take a look at, I just mailed out 2 Etsy orders. Thank you, fellas. I'm going to start doing this. Here's the Etsy store. Look at all this fun stuff. Look at it. Would you just look at it? Look at all these beautiful stickers. You want some stickers. Look, Fat Shark screen protectors. These are actually, the quality of the printing on these is wild. License to Drive printed these for me. It's really incredible. Look, if you buy a newbie drone AIO, or if you have a newbie drone AIO, if you order this for $4 whole, you can take these guys right here and do what I did with them. You cut them down really short, and then you solder them up to your newbie drone AIO, and then you've got a regular motor plug so that you can run regular motors on your newbie drone AIO without having to direct solder them. So, I got your back, friends. Look, nuts. Lots of nuts. Don't you need some more nuts? So there's the Etsy store. T-shirts and hats and mugs and shit on Teespring. Lots of fun stuff going on. Support the people that make the content that you enjoy, and they will continue to make more content that you will continue to enjoy. If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, all you gotta do is type CiottiFPV. If you don't type CiottiFPV, I'll assume that you're talking to each other. The folks that hang out in the chat are amazing, super knowledgeable, super great human beings. Love to have you. Hang out, talk some smack, ask some questions. OGs, if you see a good question or just somebody that forgot to tag me, copy it, paste it, let me know, and give them credit. In the chat, Riot9 was first, ImpFPV was next, Freelojo, Espander, Grizz, Richard, Brandon's Baked Beans, Frank Nicholas, Ram Donko, Richard again, Athix, Paul McDonald, CMYKFPV is in the house. If you ever need graphic design, go to CMYKFPV or I'll just beat you. Ask Race, Dusty Joe, Dan636, M2K, Espander, Northern Tier, Dan636, Richard Espander, Michael Blade, Esk Race, Athix, Big FPV, Mr. Huggy. I think I got most of you guys. Welcome, people. First up. You know you want to check out my mailbag. Somebody sent me a Weller heat gun from Amazon. I think it was my dad, because you guys in the chat mention, why the hell don't you have a heat gun all the time? And I always answer it. I always seem to see that comment, and I always answer it that heat guns are gigantic. My little space that I work from here is absolutely tiny, and that's why, you know, I use this, and I use this, and they work 99.9% as well as a heat gun. I gotta be honest though, I'm happy to have this. I'm very happy to have this heat gun, and it's made by Weller. This will get used. It probably won't get used here because I just don't have room for it. But this will get used. It is really nice to have a heat gun in life. Look how old school it looks. This is like the most old school looking thing I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Doesn't that look like it's from the 70s? Isn't that cool? I love it. I love it. And it's actually got a little tiny nozzle on it. Look at how little this nozzle is. I think I might be able to use this goddamn thing almost like a hot air station. I think I might be able to like reflow, if I have like a board with, like I've had the OSD chip, like one of the legs on the OSD chip will break contact and that'll just grenade the whole board. I feel like with this I might, in that scenario, be able to just hammer on that one spot, hammer on that side of it, with the heat gun, and then push down on that leg and get it to reconnect. So that's pretty cool. Whoever sent me that, thank you. It's that was very, very cool of you. Let me see something. Today, it's such a funny design. I mean, yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I love it. I'm gonna paint it I'm gonna paint it Weller blue. I'm gonna try to find some spray paint in that like Weller blue color. This blue. Yeah, that's like it's hard to see. Probably see it better over here. Yeah, there you can see it. This is like Weller blue. A lot of their stuff is this like, it's an interesting. It's like an old school blue actually. It's not like a baby blue. Yeah, it's this like old school blue. It has it's on their little flush cutters too. It's a really cool color. So yeah, I'm gonna try to paint that. I'm gonna try to find it in spray paint. And the next mailbag is from FPV Cycle. Thank Christ this showed up, because what we're gonna be doing tonight is putting these motors that just showed up onto that rig. So yeah, shout out to FPV Exchange for, and that's not FPV Exchange, that's FPV Cycle. Shout out to FPV Cycle for getting this to me so quick. Yeah, look at these. These are the fanciest of fancy pantsies. These are the new FPV Cycle super secret capacitor and diode setup. Look at that. This is the most expensive capacitor you'll ever buy. I mean, it's a whole setup, though. You know, it's the diode, it's the cap, it's the capacitor, it's the wires, and they're all ready to go. So yeah, this is pretty slick. I don't know what I'm gonna. I only got 2 of them. I'm not totally sure what I'm gonna put them on. What I'll probably do is I'll wait until I have a rig that is being sort of uncooperative. And then that's what I'll put them on. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just throw them onto... Like, for example, if I have a rig that I build that doesn't have an Acon ESC into it, you know, there's much more of a chance that that rig is going to be a pain in the ass. So that's probably what I'll put these guys onto. Or like, heaven forbid I ever build something with an AIO. These would probably be a good match for that, since AIOs are the effing worst. Band-aids on band-aids on band-aids on band-aids, friends. But, you know, if you put enough band-aids on, you don't bleed to death. You didn't bleed to death. You can go to the store and buy some more band-aids. What else did I get? Oh, I got another one of these big, long Caddx antennas. This would have been nice last night, wouldn't it have? I wouldn't have had to spend all that time gutting that that piece of TPU if this had come a day earlier. But that's okay. Yeah, on FPV Cycle, Bob has these longer Caddx UFL Rush Cherry antennas with this really nice gummy glip glop stick. I don't know. What's it? What do you want me to call it? Mast? Is it a mast? You're a mast. I'll mast you. That's okay though. I'm glad that I got that. I'm glad that I got that True RC antenna figured out, because yeah, the other thing that I think this thing is really good for is long range stuff. I feel like this is a really good long range rig, and I also feel like Bob agrees with me, because you can now buy this with 7-inch arms. So yeah, I feel like if I ever do any long range stuff, it'll be with this rig with the session mount on it, just to keep it as light as possible, and just, you know, put it out into oblivion, and maybe it won't come back. So yeah, it's good that it has the best. That True RC Singularity antenna is the best antenna that I've got. So it kind of makes sense that, you know, the best antenna is on the rig that might get sent out the farthest. You know what I'm saying? A couple of battery straps here, and a few of these Cineglide base plates, which is really cool because the one that's on there is a little bit chewed up, and it's just a tiny little piece of carbon. So it's nice that it's nice to have a couple of extras here, and the star of the show in this order is, where can I put this that I want? This goes in the frame box. That's where it goes. The star of the order is 5 Imperial 25mm 2150 kV motors, which we're just gonna solder right the hell up. But let's get all fondly with them first. You know what I mean? That's what the popular YouTube live streamers do, right? And just YouTubers do. Okay, hold on. Hey guys, we got new unboxing. Ready? Listen. Make sure you listen. Ooh, it's so delicious sounding. Let's see what's inside. Ooh, the packaging is nice. Ooh, it comes with extra screws and nuts. Woo! Can you hear it? Can you hear it, guys? It gives me a huge erection. My name is Hugh. Hugh Direction. Let's cut it open. Listen now. It didn't make a noise. Ooh, look at them. Would you look at? God, these are really nice. Ooh, they're a little notchy. Hi. Ooh, somebody's gonna make some goddamn power. Okay. Damn, yo. That's a pretty motor. I'm glad it's going on a rig that's not gonna get the hell beaten out of it. It's got the top isn't CNC'd, but they definitely like powder coated this, and then they just skimmed the top a little bit. to get the powder coating off of it. Nice white wires. It's a shame. I've got oh, I should have waited. Fuck me. I should have waited. I got all antsy and I put these I put the race wires on this with the black wires in here. If I'd waited, I could have done white wires. Well, whenever I have to work on this rig next, I'll try to remember to... Good God, these are some long-ass motor wires. Holy shitballs. Okay. Wow. Jesus. It's almost as long as the Stick and Dick End Fund. Look at that. Holy hell, yo. That's like... That's bananas. Jesus. Okay, somebody ain't fucking around. So this is enough motor wire forever. That's pretty cool. I'm into that. I'm a fan. You guys getting sick of me impersonating tech YouTubers yet, or should I keep doing it? Is it stale yet, or is it still fresh and meaty? Fresh and meaty? Okay, great. I'll keep doing it. In the chat, ImpFPV says, good evening, CiottiFPV and the rest of the crew. CMYKFPV says, happy Friday. Din636 says, hey everyone in CiottiFPV. Espander says, how is the DJI stuff going? It's going good. I haven't turned any of it on yet. I'm just focusing on getting as much of it installed as possible. I think this is the last of it for right now. Maggie is actually on her way, which is just so great. I love when she comes to hang out here. And so, yeah, I should be able to get these motors soldered up to this rig before 9 o'clock when I go off, so that Botgrinder can take over the live streaming FPV duties. Yeah, so I'll get the motors on here. This has a Vista in it. The Cineglide has a Vista in it. I got a Vista into one of the Cinesplores, and then I've got the 2 sets of goggles. I've got one of Matt McConnell's rigs, and there's been an Easter egg that I don't know if you guys can actually see it, but there's been an Easter egg in view for like a month that I'm kind of surprised that nobody picked up on. It might be because you can't see it, but right up here for like the last month or so, there's been an apex, and none of you guys saw it. T-Bird sent this over. I forget why, to be honest, because it was like a month ago. But yeah, this is an apex with the new steel stout motors and DJI in it. And so I'll be bringing this as well. So I've got 5 rigs. There's no film on this. I've got 5 rigs that on tomorrow's DJI Week Day 7 live stream, we can get bound and whatever. I'm not really going to be able to fly them, but yeah, we can get them bound up to these goggles. I can figure all that nonsense out, and yeah, that'll be fun. I'm really happy that he sent this. I cannot wait to check this out, because yeah, I've wondered for a long time how the Apex frame compares to the Glide frame. I mean, I don't know. I wonder about this much. It's the biggest problem with the Apex frame is that it's Squished X, and you know, mechanically, Squished X is never going to have as much control on the pitch axis as True X, which is what the Glide frame is. The other issue that I have with the Apex is that the arms are a little bit too strong. The arms are thicker than the Glide arms, like wider in this dimension than the Glide arms, and they're thicker. They're 5.5 millimeters rather than 5 mil. So basically what that means is on a really hard hit to the motor, the arm is going to be much less likely to break, and it's going to put more of the energy into the motor itself, and that's going to grenade the motor much more easily. My biggest love of the glide frame is the arms are just the right strength. They're just strong enough where they don't break in most hits. But if you put enough energy into the end of the arm to break it, to break either the motor or the arm tends to break before the motor. And usually that'll happen, like, I can usually break like 3 arms per motor. Eventually the motor will let go. But yeah, I'll usually break 3 arms per motor, and it's a lot cheaper that way, and it's a lot easier that way, because the arms are just a couple of bucks each, and you just swap them out with a couple of screws. Motors are 25 bucks each. Christ, these motors that are on here are like $28, $29, $30 each. So yeah, it just makes way more sense for the arm to be the breaking point rather than the motors, you know? So, but with thicker, stronger arms, it'll deal with vibrations a little bit better. So I'll be able to push the filters a little bit farther. I'll be able to push the PIDs a little bit farther. I'm perfectly happy with where my filters and my PIDs are on all the glides. So for me, that's really not, that's not like a selling point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care about that, if I'm totally honest. It's not that I don't care about it. It's just that the fraction of a millisecond, that's not true. By pulling the filters down, I'll gain maybe 2 milliseconds, maybe 3 milliseconds of reduced latency. I'm not going to be able to feel that. Nobody can feel that. That's just the facts. And then I'll be able to push the PIDs up a little bit more, so I'll be able to get the slightest little bit, maybe 1% less prop wash. And that's all fine and dandy, but that's a tiny little part of the picture. The Glide does some other things a lot better. The other thing is the motor protection. I wish that these arm ends were a little bit longer to protect the motors a little bit better. And this frame's a little bit heavier too. So yeah, like when you look at the whole picture of a frame, these are the reasons that I didn't switch to the Apex frame. I was really impressed by this frame whenever we did the flow state interviews, which is probably about 1.5 years ago at this point. It was months before the Apex frame came out. We were at Steele's place, and he had a couple of these built, and I was like, oh my god. And I was kind of taking him and doing this move, and I was really blown away at how strong it was. And the design of it is great. I love the split base plate design. There's a lot of things that I like about this frame, but as I thought more and more about it, I realized that the Glide frame is still the one for me. For me. That's the important part there. Like, for me. I have a specific set of requirements, and I fly a certain way, and in my opinion, those things benefit the most from the Glide frame. But, all that being said, I cannot wait to get this up in the air and fly it. Yeah. Wonder what components are in here. It's a 30x30 stack, 30x30 ESC and flight controller, and then there's a Vista in the back. So yeah, tomorrow will be very fun. If you guys like to watch people struggle on the internet, tomorrow's stream is for you. I don't know what time I'm going to stream. It depends on what's... Maggie's going to crash here tonight, and then we're just going to get out of here in the morning-ish. And I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what's happening tomorrow at her place, and then I'll just kick the camera on and say, hey, we'll get some stuff bound up, and I will have my first... Well, no, I won't really be flying it around, so I won't have a proper DJI experience. But I'll have my first troubleshooting DJI experience, almost certainly. Because, first time you put something together, or just do something, it never goes well. So I'm sure I'll be screaming and yelling and crying. Dan636 says, that's an awesome gig. Congrats, dude. Proud of you. Thanks, man. Michael Blade says, hey, Athix says, going to run some lithium ions on the Cineglide. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, why not? It does have big old motors on it. It's got 2507 motors on it, so I don't know if a lithium ion would like that big of a motor. Any of you guys have any thoughts on that? I don't see Remy Tim in here. He would definitely know. Well, he might not know because I know he runs smaller motors on his long-range rigs, but he spends a lot of time in the Facebook group Long Range Hooligans, so he probably actually does know. Athix says, can you put spacers under the GoPro mount? I could, but that would actually make the situation a little bit worse. That would put the part of the GoPro mount that hits even more centered. No, it wouldn't. It would make it a little bit better, but I mean, this is hitting by like a quarter of an inch. So I would have to raise the GoPro mount up by like a full inch. So I don't think that's realistic. I'm pretty surprised that it doesn't clear with that Hero 8 mount on it. But you know, you could easily run a 5-inch prop all day long. S. Grace says maybe the Gemfan 5236 would fit then. Absolutely. I can all but guarantee you that would that propeller would clear. So yeah. Big FPV says, Bob's I Love You prop works beautifully on that setup. It's the only thing I like that prop on, but great on the Cineglide. There we go. Awesome. Love that. M2K FPV says, I think Rosser's recent video shows motor limiting is about 10% less efficient. It is at full throttle, where we spend a sum total of about 5 seconds per battery. So when you actually fly a battery with motor limiting, your runtime might be like a half a second less, which I couldn't care less about. Even if the runtime was 10 seconds less, I still wouldn't care, but it would never be 10 seconds less. Yeah, you just don't spend much time at full throttle, unless maybe, I guess, if you're a racer or something like that. But yeah, I mean, even racers, they're not sitting at full throttle all the time. So yeah, that was the one thing that he kind of got wrong. He didn't get wrong, but he didn't talk about that when he did that testing, and I was super bummed about that because, you know, he's like the authority, so he puts that content out, and now everybody thinks that they're going to get 10% less runtime if they use motor limiting, and it's just not true at all. So yeah, I wish that he had. I'm sure he just didn't think about it. You know, like, he's doing tests on the bench. He's not doing real-world tests, you know, like I do. I don't do any testing on the bench. I do all of my testing in the real world, which is not great in terms of, like, control, right? Like, it's when you test in the real world, you lose the control of bench testing, but you gain, you know, and if you pay attention when you're doing the real-world testing, you can get some pretty valid results. So yeah, in the real world, motor limiting is phenomenal. Acrodog says, what's up? Happy Friday, everyone, in CiottiFPV. Ramdonko says, bonus CiottiFPV. Expander says, Heath gun is awesome. Is that a gun that shoots like Heath balls? Athix FPV says, I'm glad your dad sent you a hairdryer for the crazy hair times. Ramdonko says, temp control and nozzles. I didn't even, I don't think there was a temp control on it. There was a high and a low switch, and there's a bunch of different little things for the nozzle, but I did not see an actual temp control. Athix says, ooh, not your dad. Was it you, Athix? License to Drive says, that looks like the heat gun I used some 11 years ago when I was doing some surface mount soldering for someone using a microscope. I'm thinking the same thing, License to Drive. I'm thinking it'll do that. Very cool. CMYKFPV says, did you get to order that Darwin stack before they went out of stock? I didn't. I didn't realize that they went out of stock. I looked at I was about to order it, and then I was like, oh my god, $120 is an awful lot. I got to be good. So I came in here to the office and I was like, how can I get that frame built? And then it just hit me. I couldn't believe it took this long to hit me, but I'm just gonna not use that big thick ESC. I have a bunch of more micro-oriented ESCs, but they're still 30 to 35 amps. So I'm gonna use one of them. I think I'm gonna use a Mamba. I have two that I can use. I have this this Mamba. The sticker's gone. I have this Mamba 30 amp. I've also got this iFlight. I think it's a 35 amp. These are both, you know, when 20 by 20 ESCs are either expensive and geared towards 5-inch rigs or cheap and geared towards micros. The expensive ones are thick because they need to dissipate the extra heat from them not being 30 by 30. So instead of being wide and long, they're thick and narrow. So yeah, there's that. So that's what, and so yeah, these micro-oriented 20 by 20 ESCs are a little bit lower amp rating, you know, 30, 35 instead of like 50 and 60 nowadays. But they're much thinner. And I test fit one of these with the Talon F7, and it'll absolutely clear those 15 millimeter standoffs. So the Toothpick 2 build will continue with the 20 by 20 stack, but it's not going to be in DJI week. I think at some point next week, maybe for Whoop Wednesday next week, maybe that's what I'll do, is bang out the Toothpick 2 build with, and then we'll see. You know, I originally had both Cinesplores on ESCs just like this, 3-inch micro brushless oriented lightweight ESCs, and they were completely fine. 90%, actually no, all of the jobs that I flew last year were on those ESCs, and they were completely fine. They didn't skip a single beat. Over the winter time here, you guys might remember, I pulled both Cinesplores apart and I put more expensive, more robust 5-inch 20 by 20 ESCs into them, under the thinking like, yo, I used the shit out of these rigs in 2021. I would rather have a completely bulletproof ESC setup in them, and the Cinesplores have tons of build height. So there's, you know, they're perfect candidates for those more robust ESCs. But this Tooth Fairy is not. It is not a good candidate for anything tall. So yeah, we'll build it with these ESCs. We'll see how it is. It kind of, it makes me a little hesitant to, you know, I was talking about maybe switching from the Cinesplore frame to the Tooth Fairy 2 frames. I don't really know if I'm going to do that at this point, but once I have it together, once I can weigh it head to head against the Cinesplore, once I put it up in the air and see if there's any actual difference in flight dynamics, that's when I'll make that decision. If it flies good enough, if it's a bunch lighter, you know, maybe I will switch over and pick up 2 or 3 of those Darwin stacks. Hopefully they'll be back in stock by then. I can't believe that they went out of stock. That's kind of annoying, because I was still like, maybe I'll get one, but the decision has been made for me, so that's fine. That's fine. Metal Dirtskin says, don't you mean the most expensive capacitor
in the world?
Good call. Espander says, do caps go bad or wear out? I've never had that happen. The only thing I've had happen is if you keep bashing on a rig, even with a cap on there, the little stupid legs will eventually break under the cap. The cap makes them as durable as possible. Before those, I would break those legs way more often on the capacitor. So yeah, just don't crash. Acrodog says, why do you hate AIOs so much? So the battery voltage is very noisy and very dirty. So having the ESC with all of that electrical noise and all of that garbage on the same PCB as your very sensitive gyro is electrically a terrible idea. Also, with an AIO, you're not just hooking up 30 gauge wires to it. So you want your gyro on a PCB that can float and absorb as many of the vibrations as possible with the rubber grommets. One of the best ways to do that is to hook as few and the most flexible possible wires up to that PCB so that the wires aren't holding it in place. So our standard setup with a separate flight controller and a separate ESC does exactly that. You're only hooking up a couple of 30 gauge nice flexible wires to your flight controller, so it'll just hover and absorb a bunch of vibrations. And AIO, you're now also hooking up a dozen big thick motor wires and 2 massive battery wires. So what you're essentially doing is hard mounting the AIO, and it can't absorb any vibrations. So they get more electrical noise into the gyro, they get more physical vibrations into the gyro. The form factor is also terrible. 25 by 25 doesn't fit in any frames. A lot of times they're putting the damn things at a 45-degree angle. That's even worse. So the form factor is awful for the way that, you know, our carbon fiber frames should be built. What else? When anything breaks, you have to replace the entire thing. So if the gyro fails, you're out $100+. If the ESC fails, you're out $100+. They're only like 3 grams lighter, so there's practically no benefit in weight. Along with the form factor comes, like, yes, it's slammed and you can slam your build, but there's really no reason to slam your build because your camera is going to be 20 to 25 millimeters tall anyway. So what's the point of having a slammed AIO in there and then a big air gap if the top plate is going to have to be high for the camera anyway, right? You might as well have a 20 by 20 stack that uses that vertical space. Is that enough reasons? I can keep going, but those are the main reasons. They're terrible. They really are. And even Bob is responsible for the rise of the AIO. The AIO has been around for a long time. I tried to use AIOs in a few different micro and 5-inch builds 3, 4, 5 years ago. And this is when I figured out all of these problems with the AIOs. Bob, before he got into the toothpick stuff, him and I talked at length. I dumped as much micro knowledge as I possibly could on him. And he realized that in order to get the weight down on these little toothpick rigs, an AIO was kind of what was necessary for that specific platform. And it became very, very, very popular. And all of a sudden, you know, which is a shame because, like I said, we've had AIOs and they didn't perform well. Now all of a sudden AIO is like the hype train item, and it has been for the last like 2 years, and they've definitely gotten a little bit better, but they're still a nightmare. There's still a whole bunch of physical problems with them that will never be solved. So the guy that pioneered the AIO and was the reason that the AIO has become so popular, Bob, he sells this Darwin stack, which is not an AIO. It's a separate ESC and a separate flight controller. And if you talk to him about it, he'll explain that there are all of the problems that I just mentioned, but also there is a power limit. Like, if you go over, basically, if your all-up weight goes north of like 150 or so grams, the amount of power that you're demanding of that system is too much for a setup with the ESC on the same PCB on the same ground plane as the gyro. So AIOs are still great for super lightweight toothpicks, but anything over 150-ish, and that's just a round number, but yeah, it's a pretty accurate round number. Anything north of 150 grams all up, you're going to really benefit from not running an AIO from an electrical noise standpoint, as well as all of the other physical issues that AIOs have. So yeah, when he started selling that Darwin stack, I was like, son of a bitch, because him and I have been arguing, not really arguing, but like friendly arguing, about AIO versus separate ESC and flight controller for literally years. Literally years. That has been a thing that we would bag on each other about. And when he came out with that, I made sure to message him and be like, so you want to apologize like here or in person, or you want to write me like a letter, or like what? What do you want to do? How you want to do this? Because, you know, let's just, you know, I'll take it any way I can get it. Matter of fact, you don't even need to apologize. Just the fact that I was right, that's plenty. So yeah, that was a pretty funny. Although, you know, what was great that came out of that conversation was that he told me his reasoning for it was like he realized that there was this hard limit that had to do with the amount of power, and that makes a lot of sense. As you make more power in our electrical systems, you know, there's more noise, there's more garbage that comes from making more and more and more and more power, and as the voltages go up, the response times also change and become faster, and yeah, so it was an amazing conversation, but you know, is that the right thing to do? I don't know. I'm not a cool person. Ramdanko says solid dry cap, 10 squids or more. I think they're like $8. ImpFPV says, have you ever tried Acon ESCs with the AM32 firmware? They seem compatible. I haven't. To get the AM32 firmware going is a bit of a nightmare, and I think you can only do it on a PC. I went down that road. I'm not a developer. I'm an FPV pilot. I'm not a computer science major or a computer whiz guy. And you kind of have to be with AM32. Also, if AM32 was significantly better, more people would be running it. So I'm sure there's like one or two little things that AM32 does that are cool. But yeah, BL Heli is the norm for a reason. You know what I mean? So I spent some time with AM32 and then I just gave up. It was just too much, and I sent the ESC to one of you guys, actually. I forget who it was. Bob Noxious says, what's up? Athix says, Band-Aids won't help if you're impaled. You leave that shit in to get to the hospital. Jun Loco says, it's a great feeling that you finally went HD. Bob Noxious says, that looks really big, and that's what she said. Athix says, also, FPV Cycle is still made by RC and Power. There you go. I actually didn't even know that. YouTube just did the thing, scrolling back up. Come on. There we go. Wait, no, that's not it. Yep, there it is. Metalwordskin says, they come with crazy long-ass wires, plenty to find another use for. Brian Jarvis says, can't see the detail on them. Yeah, that camera sucks. It's send a letter to Logitech and be like, yo, CiottiFPV's live stream is crippled because of your horrible cameras. Do something about it. Why is it that webcams are so awful? Like, every single other camera in the entire world right now, other than webcams, are great and, like, mind-blowing. Why are webcams still just the biggest donkey-raping shit-eaters on Earth? Spander says, you can't see so much detail in 720p. Yeah, that's another part of the problem. Zach Lothamer says, how goes it? Espander says, I really dislike the shape of the top plate on the apex. I love it otherwise. Really? Why do you hate the shape so much? What's wrong with the shape? Fargo252, what's up, dude? Charleston pilot in the house. He says, dude, I'm about to lose it with Fast Shark support. Sent my goggles in for some minor repairs and have them do some power mod. I got them back with no screens working and LaForge power up. What the hell? I wish I could help, Fargo. That is pretty unusual. Usually Fat Shark support is amazing. I don't know anybody over there, so there's really not much that I could do for you. That sucks, dude. I don't know what to say. It's good for us all to know that maybe their support is not doing so great. But, yeah, you just got to stay on them, I guess. That sucks, man. Damn. GrizzFPV says, I agree with you on motor limiting. I motor limit almost all my rigs. License to Drive says, that heat gun I used worked well for SMD work and rework. I once had to lift the leg of a soldered IC, solder a wire to it because there was a wiring mistake in the prototype board. Very cool. That's very good to know, License. CMYK says, I was joking. The Darwin stack is totally still in stock. Affiliate link. Thank you, CMYK. I was going to say, man, I fucking checked it, like, I checked it last night because I keep second guessing myself, and I keep checking it like, oh, is it out of stock? Acrodog says, thanks for the great info. Your your points make me hate AIO as well. Freudian slip if I ever saw one there. Mr. Huggy says, and here I am building a FetTech AIO powered FPV cycle 4-eyed, and I now have 5 quads running on AIOs now. AIO junkie and proud of it. Yeah, in fairness, I did say that AIOs have come a long way. And they have. They absolutely have. But there are just... even if AIOs become bulletproof, all right? Even if they become completely bulletproof and they never fail, there are still physical limitations. Having all of these wires hooked up to it is a physical limitation, a physical issue that will just never be solved. So, like, in the grand scheme of things, here's what it is. At the end of the day, an AIO will never fly as good as a separate flight controller and ESC. And for me, that's like the end. Where it becomes a little bit hairy is that there are now frames being designed where you kind of can't fit 20 by 20 stacks in it. Luckily, there are other frames that exist that are typically just as good that are designed for 20 by 20 stacks. So it, yeah, we are splitting hairs to some extent. You can get a rig with an AIO to fly really, really, really well, but it'll never fly quite as good. And where that starts to matter for me is in that I crash a lot. And when you crash a lot, you do things that put additional vibrations into the frame, and to have your flight controller more isolated at that point does actually make a difference. So, like, if you're not crashing super hard all the time, the difference between AIOs and stacks is a lot less, right? Does that make sense? So yeah, it's a back and forth. It's really nice that the AIOs are getting better, because it sucks to see, people get into the hobby, have 2, 3, 4 AIOs in a row fail, and they're like, fuck this, I can't, this is insane. That stinks. I think that we've lost a lot of people to that over the last couple of years. But, flip side of that is that, those people got out early. And they weren't stubborn enough to stay in it through that. And if you're not stubborn enough to stay in it through that, you're probably not going to stay in it long term anyway. I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, AIOs are not the devil. I just try to be as nuts about like anti-AIO as possible, because the hype train is so strong with AIOs that, like, if middle is here, the hype train is pushing us all the way over here. I want to be all the way over here so that we can land in the middle and actually think through it. Like, am I going to crash this rig a lot? And all the other things that we talk about. So, Expander says, battery straps don't sit very well with some batteries on the Apex. Okay. I'd be way happier with a straight top plate instead of that shape. Very cool, Expander. It's interesting. That's another thing that I really like about the Glide top plate, is that the way that the battery straps go through there is like beautiful, and it works really well, and they don't slide around, and it's all these little things, right? Like when you're deciding on what frame you go with, There's a million of these little like quality of life things that really do make a difference. Expander brings up a beautiful one, right? Like you never think about that until here's the problem, right? You buy an Apex frame, you spend $100 First and foremost, you spend $100 on a frame, it better goddamn well be good, right? So you're already like financially like, yeah, this is the best frame ever. Maybe it's not, but you just spent so much money, you're like, yeah, my brain is gonna trick me into that, right? And then you spend 6 to 8 to 10 hours building the damn thing. Now you're really invested, right? Now you're like, fuck yeah, this is the best thing ever. And it went together nice and strong, and it's firm and all. And then you put a battery on, and you're like, what is this bullshit, right? Like the battery strap, like, come on, really? But you're like, no, it doesn't matter. I'm so invested money and time-wise in this that, right? So that's where stuff kind of gets hairy, and you got to, it's hard. It's hard to, and then you also have to admit to yourself that you were wrong potentially, right? And like that sucks too. Like no, that doesn't feel good for anybody. That's where the work comes in, you know? Be wrong. Be wrong all the time. When you're wrong, you learn. When you're right, you don't learn shit. So be wrong. Be wrong as much as possible. And admit it to yourself. You'll be a way better human being. The more wrong you are, and the more easily you can admit it, the better. Literally, the better human being you'll be on Earth. Because when other people are wrong, you won't like and shame them. You'll be like, oh, that sucks, man. Hey, let's I'm here for you. I'm wrong all the time. Can we do something to fix? Right? Like it just makes you a better human. Being wrong. I mean, don't be wrong for the sake of being wrong, but, push yourself. And put yourself in situations where there's the possibility of you being wrong. That's the money right there. That's where the money's at right there. Veritas Weasel says, dude, I had projectiles stuck in me. What? I've seen my tendons moving. Oh, God, what? That's dangerous. And you could bleed to death instantly. Always get to the hospital. Don't remove anything. What's that in reference to, Veritas Weasel? Where did that come from? I'm confused. Mr. Huggy says the two 20x20 stacks that I've tried to use, either the ESC or the flight controller failed. Sounds like you're buying the wrong 20x20 stacks. If you buy the wrong AIO, the same thing will happen. And I'll wager that there are way more shitty AIOs than there are shitty 20x20 stacks. So yeah, and when one thing in a 20x20 stack fails, you pay 40 or 50 bucks rather than 100 plus. So yeah, I mean it's yeah. Veritas Weasel says Irwin the crocodile hunter would be alive today if they didn't clock out the manta ray's stinger. I did not know that. I did not know that they yanked it out, and that's why you bled to death. Yeah, if you ever get something stuck into you, leave it in there. Don't ever yank it out. In the movies when they yank the knife out, that's the worst thing you could possibly do. I don't know where that conversation came from, but yeah. Bob Noxious says, I would rather have a stack, but I do run a couple AIOs, 20x20 JHE MCUs on an F7 Beast. They've been punished fairly hard, still punishing them. Nice. Like I said, it is really great that they've gotten the quality control under control with these AIOs. Because, yeah, there are certain frames that it's the only option. Mr. Huggy says both were Diatone Mamba F7 stacks. Well, there we go. Great. Well, maybe I won't be putting a Diatone Mamba ESC in the Tooth Fairy 2. Maybe I'll do that iFlight ESC. That iFlight ESC I had in the Acrobrat for a long time, and I pounded the shit out of that thing. So I was kind of leaning towards that anyway. Propped Up FPV says, hey bro, sorry not been on live, but have been catching up on playback, so I'm up to date, been so busy. It's all good, brother. Hey, lots of audio versions of live streams have been going up. I've been busting my ass. I've been in a bit of a manic phase this week. And when I'm manic, I can get an awful lot of shit done. So I've been ripping through a ton of audio conversions for these live streams. So yeah, and that's a benefit of Patreon. $3 whole a month, and you will get access to basically podcast versions of these live streams, so you can just listen to them in your pocket. Most of the good info. Hi. Most of the good info is coming out of my mouth, not coming through the lens. So, yeah. Join the Patreon. It really means a lot. I know $3 a month doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is a lot when a bunch of you guys jump on there. The Patreon has been kind of doing one of these, so if you have 10 cents a day that you can spare, it really means a lot, and it allows me to really focus on these live streams and have these be like the thing that I really work my ass off on. Veritas Huzo says, sorry bud, I walked back into the room and thought I heard you say something about something being stuck in someone's body and having to go to the hospital. I mean, God only knows what comes out of my mouth. I don't specifically remember talking about that though, so maybe it was I don't know. Veritas Huzo says, oh, we know we got that. Bob Noxious says, I have that iFlight ESC and it's good. Use that one. Yeah. I'm thinking I'm gonna. Okay, here we go. Putting these motors on so that I can end this right at 9 o'clock to hang out with my wonderful girlfriend Maggie, who just walked in the door, which is why I was screaming and yelling like a complete maniac.
You want a drink, babe? Or no?
No thanks, I got some water. How are you?
Come and say hi. Hold on.
Come and say hi! I see that garbage can, yo. That's awesome. I don't have a garbage can in the bedroom.
Well, that matches your,
Totally.
matches your, I think it was meant to go with that set.
Yeah. Where'd you find that? Target?
Yeah, the Sage used to have the same,
Oh,
same
that's
set.
right. That's right.
Hi, baby.
Hi. How are you? Chat, look! Hey!
Actually, had the
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, to work. Not back to work. I haven't even started it yet. But to work. Just to work. To work we go. Let me pull the chat over real quick here. Expander, Zach, and 661 say hello, my dear.
Hi.
She says hi back. Alright. Riot 9 asked you to twerk.
Do you really want me to show him how this works?
He said he just typed the word twerk. You don't know who you're fucking with, guys. She's a dancer, like an actual dancer. Like this girl's a dancer, a for real dancer.
He wants me to twerk.
Like that's what she did in her
Shut up.
majority of her 20s, and she still does it today, like a son of a bitch.
I tell you what.
I tried.
I have taught Aaron how to twerk, and so I'm sure he'd love to show you how to.
Not on the internet, bro. You fucks want to come see me in person, you might get that. You might get a little bit of that, but no, the internet's forever. What? I'm not good at it yet.
Say about me on the street. I'm not watching.
I don't know. You talk to him as much as I do. I'm still working on my hip drops, guys. I'll give you guys a hip drop or two at some point when I get better at it. But I don't know about that. I don't have an ass for twerking.
It's a pelvic movement.
Aggie certainly does. It is. She said it's a pelvic movement. I don't think she heard me. I think I got away with that one. Did you hear me?
No.
Yes.
I don't want to know.
Yep. It's true. It'll just upset you.
Okay. Pour myself a strong drink.
Oh shit. She likes her drinks like she likes her man. I don't know about that one. Strong? I'm not all that strong. I'm mentally strong.
You're very strong, baby. You're strong in all the ways that matter.
She said you're strong in all the ways that matter. Strong dick.
Your dad's not watching.
Nothing he hasn't heard before. Where do you think it came from? Where do you think these jokes came from? He's to blame. He's patient zero. Oh wow, the motors barely stick together, which means that the outside of the magnet ring is properly designed. Dan636 says, driving to Atlanta to see CiottiFPV twerk. Be right back. Expander says, show us some moves. But then he put my name, not yours. Sorry, baby. Zach Lothamer says, takes notes, gets CiottiFPV to Rampage and get him drunk, LMAO.
Yes.
Yeah, probably not. The whole, man, alcohol, like in this whole journey of trying to get my stomach under control, I have really noticed that alcohol is not good for it. So for the most part, I've kind of sworn off alcohol, which is fine because it's expensive and it's hard on your liver and all the things that we already know, right? But man, is it fun. So it's tough. But yeah, for the most part, I think I'm kind of sort of done with alcohol, except for special occasions. But I don't know. Rampage is a special occasion. So you never know. But the problem with that is like I don't want to, like, if I'm out. If I'm away from home, the last thing I want to do is fuck my stomach all up and spend half my day, pooping. So if I'm going out somewhere, I'm going to be even less likely, in a way, to drink. Shifty FPV says, CiottiFPV will twerk 4 battery packs. Maritas Weasel says, well, that proves it. Maggie is pretty. My girl's pretty. Drones are babe magnets. Yeah. I mean, no. For the record, they're not, but they're definitely not babe magnets. But we can pretend.
Yoga's the babe magnet. That's what it is.
What'd you say?
Yoga's the babe magnet.
Yoga's, yeah. Yoga, guys. Yoga. For real. Not even kidding. NGL, friends. NGL. All right, let's get these chopped down and soldered up, and then you guys can go watch you some Bot Grinder. I think Bot is actually going to be here in Atlanta this weekend, so there's a slight chance that I might go fly with him. I really doubt it. My weekend is packed, but you never know. If he comes up to like Tribble Hill, that's near where I'm going to be this weekend. So you never know. Never say never. Yeah, maybe. Like, I do need to get all these rigs up in the air to shake them down. I don't have any like freestyle rigs put together at the moment, and that's the kind of flying. But I can just go and whatever, hang out, and we'll see. Should bring Sage. Him and Bot Grinder would be best friends.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Alright. Stripping some motors. Hey, do you want me to get that TV on for you so you can watch some things?
Because I can't figure out myself.
Because you've got a snowball's chance in hell of figuring out my little setup.
I'm fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
You liar! You want a laptop?
Huh?
You want a laptop?
No.
Okay.
I got my phone, babe. I'm cool.
Okay.
I'm good. Just over here twerking by myself.
She said she's over there twerking by herself. You guys are missing out, man. I need a living room cam. We'll call it the twerk cam. I'll set the camera up on a low tripod. It'll be waist height.
Oh, God.
Shifty FPV says, I flew with Bot the other day, and he said he's flying out on Saturday. Very cool. All right. Let's get some... All right, so we can move this little fuzzy fucker out of here. Let's get some... what's it called? Flux. Let's get some flux going. Jesus. It's unbelievable the words that my brain will sometimes just not be able to conjure up. Here we go! Come on. Come on. You can do it. There we go. First one's always the hardest because you don't have a big old blob of solder on the tip of the soldering iron yet. I'm not talking because I don't have the fan on. I'm trying not to breathe in these fumes. Okay, unplugging the fan and turning it on. Now I can talk and solder at the same time. Okay, so this is going to be motor number 2. Let's zap it on here. And we can move on to the next. I do them individually like this because these race wires are not necessarily sitting in the exact same spot on each of the arms. So by doing these individually, I can get the wire runs the absolute right length. Not too long, not too short. It's a subtle thing. It's not a big deal, but you know, 1,000 subtle things does kind of make a big deal, in my opinion. You may disagree. That's all right. That's allowed. Spice of life. This wire kind of frayed out a little bit. Let me just make sure that... There we go. That's better. Alright, and doing my best to hang the insulation off the edge of the PCB so that the wires themselves sit as flat as possible against the pad. And there we go. 1 done, 3 to go. Get a couple of these screws in here, just burn my finger a little bit. Yo, these motors are beautiful. White motors, man, white motors. Come on now. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about America. What do you guys know what movie that is that from? What movie that's from? Aircon says, what temp are you using? Aircon, I run the soldering iron at 710. That is a little bit too hot for 30 gauge wires, and it's a little bit too cold for the big thick battery wires. But if you're quick, it totally works fine with 30 gauge wires, and if you're patient, it totally works fine with the big thick battery wires. So it keeps me from having to bounce the temperature up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And yeah, it works totally fine for me. Technically speaking, you should, like, especially if you haven't been soldering for 5+ years, it makes a lot of sense to not have that approach and to move your temperature up and down and up and down. On the small 30 gauge stuff, I would say you can drop down as low as like 650, maybe 660, and then with the big ass like 5-inch, you know, I don't know what the gauge usually is. Is this 14? This is 14. So if you're doing like a 14 gauge big boy wire, you can crank it up to like 750. Probably would be a good number for you to really munch through it. So yeah, do as I say, not as I do, potentially. You know what I'm saying? I also had one hell of a teacher in my father, who was an electrical engineer for 20, 30 years, probably even longer than that, my favorite claim to fame of my dad is that when he worked for Princeton Plasma Fusion Labs, one of the very few places on Earth that has ever produced a tokamak plasma fusion reactor. At one point, he got sent to NASA to do an intensive week-long soldering course with, at NASA. So yeah, that's who I had. That's who taught me to solder. So I'm a bit of a fringe case in that I had a hell of a teacher, and I've been building these rigs for a long time. So yeah, if you haven't had all of those, things just magically happen to you in your life, one of the things that you can do to help your soldering is move the temperature up and down. Don't be a lazy shit like me. Although it's less about laziness and more about efficiency for me. I just don't want to, these builds take a long enough time as it is, every little, it's kind of like min-maxing, in the video game world. If you're into video games, that'll make sense to you. I try to min-max the things that can save me a couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds there, and sort of balance that out with there's certain things. When I build, it still takes a long time, and the builds still come out absolutely gorgeous. I pay attention to and give time to the things that do make a difference in these builds. So yeah, and it's kind of constantly changing. I'm always sort of like thinking about it and like, hey, can I skip this step? Can I skip that step? Hey, do I need to spend more time on this step? Stuff like that. And everybody's going to be a little bit different with that. As it should be, if you're just building a basher rig that's going to get the hell beaten out of it, and like, so for example, if you're building like a 3-inch basher rig, right? 3-inch rig is not going to hurt anybody. It's going to get the hell beaten out of it anyway. So you could make a really strong case for like, just throw it together, just get it done, just half-ass it together as quick as possible, get it up in the air. You're just going to have to rip it back apart. Versus like if you're building a big nasty 5-inch rig that can hurt someone, I think it makes a lot more sense to build it cleaner, take your time, and then like a couple of these rigs, for example, are cinematic rigs, so they're not going to get the hell beaten out of them. They're going to be flown on set around talent. And you can't have it falling out of the air. So I really go the extra mile on these rigs to get them as perfect as I possibly can, so that on the day, I don't have to worry about these falling out of the sky and hurting someone, which is, completely unacceptable on a film shoot. So yeah, it's there's a lot of different things going on with building that not a lot of people think about or talk about. But that's what I'm here for, god damn it. Alright, motor number 4 is almost ready. Just want to move this motor up and out of the way. So this rig, for example, this is not a basher, and this is a rig that could get used on set. So I am getting these solder joints absolutely perfect. And yes, that takes longer, but in my opinion, yes, it is worth the extra time spent to do that. Metal Dirtskin says, efficiency is just highly refined laziness. So, healthy. I haven't mentioned Healthy Gamer GG in a while. If you guys really want to like work on yourselves, look up Healthy Gamer GG here on YouTube. Dr. K will, I know this sounds silly, but he will change your life. He actually will. He is a, Indian parents that basically told him, you're either going to be a lawyer or a doctor. So he goes to medical school. Is obsessed with video games, thus the name of his channel being Healthy Gamer GG. Obsessed with video games. At the time that he was in college, he's my age, at the time he was in college, it was World of Warcraft. Fails out of medical school in his second year because he can't stop playing video games. Gets pissed off and says, F the world, I'm going to an ashram in India to be a monk. Goes to India, studies to be a monk for something like 7 years, I think it was. When he's about to take his vows, he meets his now wife, Kruthi. Moves back to the U.S., goes back to medical school, gets his degree in psychology, realizes that there is a terrible there's a terrible mental health epidemic in the gaming world, and decides to try to focus on how he can help those folks. Becomes the only professor in the country that specializes in gaming addiction at Harvard, gets hired at Harvard as a professor, and that's his specialty. And then he turns that into, he flips that into Healthy Gamer to get that rolling, right?
Is he a psychiatrist or a psychologist?
psychologist. If I said psychiatrist, I was wrong. He's a psychologist.
Is he?
Yeah. Starts Healthy Gamer. He focuses on gaming addiction on the channel and specifically live streamers. This is how I found out about him. One of the things that he does a lot is one-on-one sessions with very, very, very popular video game live streamers. And those episodes of his on his channel here on YouTube and on Twitch are the best, because these live streamers are us. Like, they're not boomers. They're our age and younger, and they're in a very strange job with very interesting like social things happening. So that, in my opinion, that if you want an introduction to Healthy Gamer, set aside 2 hours, go to his popular uploads playlist, and pick one or two. The one that really hooked me, probably because I have depression, is his interviews with. It's the most viewed on there. Oh my God, what's the streamer's name? I can't believe I can't think of the streamer's name. Healthy Gamer GG. Popular uploads. Wreckful. Wreckful was a live streamer with pretty severe depression that that Dr. K did a bunch of episodes with, actually, but unfortunately it wasn't enough, and Wreckful took his own life a couple of years ago, and it's just heartbreaking. But yeah, the Wreckful episodes are something else. So if that kind of thing triggers you, be careful, because yeah, I didn't know that going in. I didn't know because I don't really follow streamers, and that fucked me up when I found that out.
He is a psychiatrist, babe.
He's a psychiatrist, not a psychologist. Okay, I did not know that. I thought he was a psychologist. So yeah, careful with that if you're triggered by that kind of stuff. I am, but I'm still very glad that was my introduction, because it's just really powerful shit. And sometimes the world is a really horrible, sad place. So and you got to learn to deal with that shit. Like, you can't avoid it your whole life. So if you face it head on, the more often you face that shit, the better you're gonna get at dealing with it.
That video with laziness on it. So I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. So that was the thread there. So yeah, Dr. K has a video. Well, no, he doesn't have a video. Well, I guess he does have a video about it, but he says it a lot, that procrastination is just like, it's kind of just very strategic efficiency. Basically, my favorite way that he's ever described it is you have a test in a week from now. For me, I'll just say I would always beat myself up for 6 days. I should be studying, and at the last second I would actually start studying, and I would go in and I would do okay, and I would get a B or a C on the test, or maybe even an A if I really paid attention in class, right? And so if that happens to you a couple of times, your brain is going to form connections, and it's going to be like, yo, I can fuck around all week and have a blast, and then at the last second get some studying done and still do okay. That's think of procrastination like that, rather than thinking of it like, man, I'm such a lazy piece of crap. If I just, could not procrastinate, I would be more successful in life. Well, that's nonsense. Your brain, like, it adapts and it forms those connections. And I mean, like, kind of true a little bit, right? Like the super overachievers, tends to be people that over prepare, and you know they have it in them. But if that's not you, you know that's not you. Like you don't have to. Not everybody has to be an absolute top performer, right? Like your life is what you choose it. If you don't want that, there's a lot of benefits to that. You know, like climbing to the top, like it's exhausting, and it's not for everybody, right? So yeah, don't beat yourself up for procrastination. I have a hard time. I know what the truth of it is, but I still beat myself up for it because we've been cultured into that. But there's more to it than that, and yeah, I love what whoever in the chat mentioned that to get me on that tirade. I love that they understand that. I hope so. It could have just been like a jokey meme post, which is fine too. But if it was, there's actually a bunch of truth to it, which is pretty common. I know a lot of times, jokes and stuff, there's a lot of truth to them. And, you know, memes are a form of joke. Yarbs FPV says, quick, do a whoop pack power loop. That B. I don't have any whoop batteries charged. Dan636 says, hour out, don't start the twerks without me. Metal Dirtskin says, all that twerking distracting you. Yarbs FPV says, clarification, B implying butt, not a pejorative sexist term. Ericon says, what temper are you using? Kevin Sumner says, what's up? Just got here and you're burning yourself. What the hell, man? The wire was a little hot. I only got burned a little bit. I didn't actually burn myself. It was just uncomfortably hot for a second. Metal Dirtskin, that's who it was. Efficiency is just highly refined laziness. License to Drive says, what do you mean 3-inch rig won't hurt anyone? It certainly hurt when a friend's tiny turner bounced off a wall into my face once. More like it won't hurt somebody and put them in the hospital, License to Drive. That's basically what I mean. Den636 says, I would not want to get hit with 3-inch quad running GemFan flash props. Ouchies. Yeah, they are kind of sharp. Afix says, the Healthy Gamer episode I loved was over self-awareness. There are so many good ones. I really, like, I'm really serious, guys. Get on there. Get subscribed. Float around on there. Let me put it this way. There is no way to spend time watching Healthy Gamer videos that won't make you a better, happier human being on Earth. I shit you not. Every minute that you spend watching Healthy Gamer content will benefit you more than anything else that you can do on a normal given day. I'm really serious about that. And like, we only have one shot. We might as well be as good as we can be, right? And as happy as we can be, and as nice to other human beings as we can be, right? Like, live hard, man. Like, we ain't getting out of this shit alive, and God knows when it'll end. So, yeah, get on Healthy Game. I got a little dark. Metal Nerdskin says, that's good stuff. My girlfriend showed me a TED Talk of someone explaining the brain mechanisms behind procrastination. Very interesting. I'll see if I can find it and post it in Discord. Very cool, Metal Dirtskin. Hey, speaking of Discord, there is a text channel in Discord called FPV Therapy. I also have a Facebook group that I've created called FPV Therapy. If you or anybody you know struggles with mental illness, or if you just want to learn more about it to be a better human on Earth, because a lot of us deal with it and it kicks the shit out of us, there's an easy way for you to do it with other FPV people that might be struggling or just trying to learn some stuff. Metal Dirksen says it was me. It was a little bit of both, I guess. Veritas Weasel says, I'm the same way with procrastination, but you're obsessive compulsive because you don't give up on tough drones. Me too. If there's something I really want, I will over prepare. Yeah, Veritas Weasel. It's OCD tendencies are interesting. They can be heartbreaking and very frustrating. But they can also produce some pretty good work. And I think a lot of the people that like we look up to that do really amazing work, I have a feeling an awful lot of them have some pretty serious OCD tendencies, because yeah, it's like, it's weird. It's in one way, it's like the OCD tendencies or just full-blown OCD is when it becomes a problem, right? So like we're not talking about that. I'm talking about these tendencies, right? And perfectionism kind of comes along with it. It's in a way one of the ways that I like to try to think about it. That's a little bit less miserable. Is that it's like the easy button for being able to do really good quality work and just do really good quality stuff. You know, I'm kind of stuck with it. So admittedly, I think about it that way to help myself not go crazy, but it's true, right? Like, it is true. There's no getting around that if that's going on in your head, it's going to help you not be able to stop and keep going. And a lot of times, all that's required for really good quality work is to just keep going and just keep doing it. And then when you're doing it, you don't stop until it's perfect or as close to perfect as you can get it. Know what I'm saying? All right. Let me clean this one up. This one looks terrible. There we go. It's a little bit better. Well, let me take a look. That might actually be dead on. Nope, it slid up a little bit. I gotta hit it one more time. Just rework it one more time, add a little tiny bit more solder, flux rather. And I just want to get it, speaking of, I just want to get it in the exact right position. This is totally fine right now. This is me being a bit of a crazy person. But it will be 1% better in 3, 2, 1. There we go. That last 1%, boys and girls. Let's take a quick look here, and yep, that's exactly on there. Wait a second, is it? Yep, that's flat on there. All right, cool. Throw a couple of screws in this one, and then we've just got one more to go. Hope you guys are ready for some bot tonight. I think he's doing, it looks like from the thumbnail, he's doing flight, like a bracket of the best flight videos. It looks like he's gonna crown a winner, best flight video of some sort. So that'll be pretty cool. June Logo says you should install ELRS on that rig to compare. No, 900 only for these working rigs. Although, my God, somebody on the stream last night was saying that there's some weirdness going on with Crossfire. So I hope to hell that that they get that figured out. Apparently, they already have it figured out, but I hope to hell that that's less than true. What else? Oh, you know what I realized? That pissed me. Like, we were talking a little bit about Trappy last night and how kind of obnoxious that he tends to act. And I realized something today. I realized why it kind of bothers me so much with him. He's a bully. He bullied Joshua Bardwell way back when, with the Immersion RC Tramp versus Unify testing, and I'm very, very, very sensitive to that. I got that shit bullied out of me when I was young, so I'm super sensitive to that stuff. So that makes a lot of sense why I have an issue with him, because yeah, I just don't play that. Like, if I get the vibe that you're a bully, I'm like, nope, not into it, not letting that into my life. So yeah, that was an interesting little realization that I had today. All right, look at all this white 20 gauge wire I've got. Ooh. All right. Vampire says, still have a few weeks for the final battle. Oh, so they're just doing the beginning parts of the bracket? Very cool. Bob Noxious says, Bot has been doing a freestyle competition. That's what it is. It's a freestyle competition. That's it. Hey, speaking of 18650s, does anybody have an 18650 or two that they don't want? That they might send me. This little fan uses 18650s. I would love to charge a couple up and have them so I can hot swap them in. License to Drive says, I recall you mentioning a Facebook group for people helping each other with depression. What is it? My long COVID issues have been going on 2 years now, and it's pushed me to the brink. License, yeah, we got you, brother. On Discord and on Facebook. I didn't read this chat comment. I just launched into that thing. So that's wild. It's wild how often that happens. Like, I'll just launch into something and there'll be a chat comment sitting there that I'll read 5 minutes later. I'm like, what? Who's reading whose mind here? Meadow Dixon says, bully is the perfect word for that guy. Really? Okay, good. Okay, yeah. I think the ELRS devs enjoy giving him a taste of his own medicine. Oh, God. I'm glad that you said that, Metal, because sometimes I worry that, like, it's just me kind of thing, you know? What'd you say, baby?
Tell him again it's FPV therapy if you didn't hear it.
FPV therapy, just in case you didn't hear it, license. FPV space THERAPY. There's a link on CiottiFPV.com. You just gotta scroll down. Bob Noxious says, I got you. Meadow says, I have a bunch that have been in box forever. I have stuff I've been meaning to send you. Should get off my ass. Awesome. Very cool. Much appreciated, Metal. Zach says, ELRS has a 900 megahertz version. It does, but the ELRS 900 has not gotten very much love yet. All of the love and attention has been spent on the 2.4 side of ELRS. I'm hoping that once they get the 2.4 side to a point of, like, diminishing returns, that they will focus more on the 900, and hopefully around that same time they'll come out with a module that's dual band 2.4 and 900. And pretty much the second that those two things happen, Crossfire is getting yanked off of every single one of these rigs and replaced with ELRS, because my God, would it be nice. Or the third thing that could happen is if somebody makes a transmitter with ELRS built in that is comfortable for big-handed dudes, I can just get that and then get the 900 megahertz module. You know what I mean? I really don't like. So the module bays are janky on these transmitters. Just the whole design of it, and like the pins being exposed like that, it's no good. It's only a matter of time before you plug your module in and it doesn't get like full connection, and maybe, you know, when you're up in the air it loses connection and your shit fail safes, and that's not good. Like basically the module bays are a very obvious failure point. So yeah, I am hell-bent on not having to take modules in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So yeah, like for example, right, I'm going to be switching over to the QX7S in carbon fiber and black that I have, and that's going to be my Crossfire radio. I'm going to leave the Crossfire in there permanently, and that's just it. That's my Crossfire radio. The white QX7 is going to get the Beta FPV 1 watt ELRS module they sent me in it, and then that's going to stay. I just need to get off my ass and get Edge TX put on the black transmitter, and then I can do that little thing. But yeah, that's how serious I am about that sort of, you know, wanting to not put the modules in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. The module bay is just feels like an afterthought, you know? It feels like they didn't really think it all the way through. They were just like, oh, we need to add something to these radios that makes people allowed to put something external on them, you know? All right, we'll hang the pins out the bottom and then make two janky little plastic switches. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. When it fails, they'll buy another radio from us. It'll be great. We can sell twice as many. Know what I'm saying? But yeah, to put a finer point on the whole 900 versus 2.4 thing, 2.4 gigahertz is a much more busy band, specifically because of Wi-Fi. You know, Wi-Fi routers are everywhere, and they are on 2.4. So I try to stay off of 2.4 when I'm outside, because outside is where a lot of that busyness is going to be. For me, doing, you know, sort of professional gigs, I have to be able to fly in really challenging situations. So for me, 900 megahertz just makes a lot more sense. And I mean, not just me. Most pro pilot, I kind of think all pro pilots are on Crossfire. But that's also because Crossfire is a known quantity, right? It's been around forever. It's been working really well forever. And that is a huge selling point of Crossfire, and frankly one of the more important things about it. But man, would I love to have an all ELRS setup. That would be cool. But it's got to get vetted and tested, and yeah, some more love. All right, these two are a little close together. Let me take a look with the 5X loop. No, they're not. It just looks like they are. The easy way to test if you've accidentally bridged your wires is to just spin the motor. If two of these wires are bridged, the motor will spin a lot less freely. That then begs the question: how freely? Like, how will I know? Well, you can just bridge them. I'll show you how right now. So if you want to check if you've bridged your... Shout out to Remy Tim for reminding me. I totally forgot this little trick until recently when he reminded me. I was like, oh, that's right. I knew that. Super simple. You take your motor. You should realistically do this every single time that you solder a motor on. Take your motor and you spin it, and you see how it spins, and then you just jam a pair of tweezers in between two of the joints, and that'll bridge them. And then you spin it, and there'll be a drastic, like, you can really feel it. It's hard for you guys to see it, but you can feel it. Yeah, you can see that. You can totally see that, right? You can even hear it. What's happening is it's actually like feeding back juice into the wires. And there we have it, friends. That's 4 Imperial motors put on to the Razorback. It now actually looks a little bit like the Razorback, but man, I really do need to get some the rest of the white wires on this to really pull off that Razorback vibe. If you don't know what I mean when I say Razorback, get your ass over to Amazon Prime and start watching The Expanse. It is arguably the best sci-fi show
in the world.
Okay. I'm doing good here. I did not Loctite these screws. That was a mistake. I'll do it next time I pull this thing apart. Oh, you know what I also didn't do is grease these arms. So at some point I'm going to pull this rig apart. I will Loctite these screws and grease them arms. Oh, God. Raven187 says, one thing I will say is the Beta FPV module is another failure point to consider. They really don't have much love in the ELRS community. Happy model for the win. Yeah, the only thing that I use the Happy Model ELRS module for is tiny whoops. So I don't care about it being shitty because there's no risk with tiny whoops, right? You're not going to hurt a soul, and if you lose one, you only lose it in your house. So eventually you'll find it. What do we got here? Oh wow, chat just blew up. Zach Lothamer said, oh, we got that. Gunny P says, you have an awesome group here. Right, Gunny? The people that hang out in chat are amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing folks. I'm a very lucky boy. Big FPV says, I have a bunch of 18636. It's got to have old DeWalt batteries if you need them. Sounds like Metal's got me. I think Metal's going to send like a couple, and I just want like 1 or 2 extras so that it's perfect. I appreciate the offer though, Big. 661 says, I feel like ELRS is miles ahead of Crossfire nowadays. It's not miles ahead of it in terms of amount of fail-safes. Like, I still hear about ELRS fail-safes. I really don't hear about Crossfire fail-safes all that much. It's just, in the grand scheme of things, ELRS is just a little bit too new. Once it's been around a little bit longer, we'll see. But yeah, it's just a little bit too new. Crossfire is a known quantity. It's good to go. Yeah. Plus, I'm not going to buy another. I would never use this beta FPV module to fly anything big. I'm not going to buy another 2.4 module and then at some point they come out with a dual band module and then I have to buy that. It's just not happening. I'd rather wait. Because someone has to do a dual band module. Like, if they don't, I'm going to attack them with a hammer and a shovel and 2 torches. License to Drive says, thanks, dude. You're certainly welcome. Athix says, I messaged Happy Model about making an ELRS Duo module 2.4 900. Nice, Athix. You are the man. 661 FPV says, 2.4 ELRS is absolutely solid. You only need 900 if your craft can fly over an hour long and go over 100 kilometers. Seriously, dual band is absolutely worthless. I disagree, 661. In situations, in working situations, on actual, like, real shoots, you get asked to do stuff that's wild. You get asked to fly like 5 buildings deep. You get asked to fly in the most ridiculous situations you could ever possibly imagine. And the little bit of extra oomph that you get from 900 could be the difference between losing a rig and hurting someone and not losing a rig and not hurting someone. So yeah, if you know, and just from a physics standpoint, 900 is better. Period. Like there's no amount of R&D on ELRS's side that's gonna change that. So yeah, and it's for normal hobbyist pilots, it absolutely does not matter. Because it's, although, I mean, it could, because as soon as a hobbyist pilot flies over a crowd of people, then it does matter. So, but it matters a lot less, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. North49RC says, I love my ELRS 900, never lose signal, don't know why you are also scared of it, just because it's not mainstream, just doesn't mean it doesn't work. The fear, North49, is that there's not a lot of people running it. And when something is new and there's not a lot of people running it, there's the potential for, oh, in this one fringe weird situation, it doesn't work really well. And I'll be damned if I'm going to be the guy that figures that out and hurts somebody, right? So, yeah, when other people's health and safety becomes a part of the equation, something that has been working for a long time really, really, really well just inherently becomes a huge, like, top of the list of priorities. You know what I mean? So that's sort of my take on that. But that's just me, you know? You're more than welcome to have your own opinion. It does not make it wrong at all. Metal Dirtskin says, my hands are enormous and I'm okay with the T16 type radios. Do I just not know what I'm missing? Never owned a QX7. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there is a big chunk of transmitters that's personal preference, right? Like, maybe you have enormous hands, but for some reason you love the way that there's something about a small transmitter that you love, right? It's very, very, very personal preference. I've been lucky enough to get to try pretty much all transmitters, you know? And yeah, there's just the QX7 is just always more comfortable to me. And that's not just me. I've heard this from a couple big-handed folks that are like, yeah, I'm stuck on this goddamn QX7. It's so boring. But I mean, at the same time, it might be boring, but it does just work. It's a totally fine radio. There it is with the mount on it. We've got 7 more minutes. Let's throw some props on this so it can be in full. I was hoping that my Amazon order would get here today with the white electrical tape, because that's going to be going on this to give it a little bit more of that Razorback vibe. But alas, it did not. All right, so we're going, these are the props that I run in this rig. These are the GemFan 5152s. If you want to go fast, these are what you need. They are both fast and efficient. They are a great propeller. If you haven't flown these, you should. I'm actually going to be giving a bunch of these props away. I've got another, 'tis the season for another GemFan sponsor box, and I'm pretty much good on props, so I basically just went through their website and found a bunch of propellers that I think you guys would like. So I basically got a whole bunch of propellers specifically kind of like for the giveaways. And yeah, I've got like 20 sets of these 5152s coming, which we'll be giving away. You guys can check out because they're wild, man. If you pair them with a big ass motor like these, like something 2507, 2506, good God, you put the nose down, you give yourself a whole bunch of up tilt, you put the nose down, you hammer it, and it just like it's really something else, man. Like regular old 5-inch freestyle rig will haul some serious ass, but you'll get like another 20-30 miles an hour out of this, and in the goggles you're like, woo boy, it's real exciting. It makes like this rig will make a kind of boring big spot really fun, because you can just like get low and just rip across a big expanse of the world, and it's fun. There it is, friends. There's the Razorback. It'll have a little bit more white on it soon. I'm going to get these battery straps out of here, I think, and put some... you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the big FPV cycle battery straps on it so that we've got even more white on this fella. Hopefully they're long enough. These battery straps are kind of worked, too. They've been... this rig has been... So I do that a lot with this rig. I get low to the ground, I hammer it really hard, I put the nose down, I go really fast, really low to the ground. It's super fun. When you do that a bunch, though, what'll happen is you'll touch one of the front props to the ground, and then it'll do a little front flip upside down, and then you're going like 100 miles an hour, so it gets upside down on this little, it's nose down, and it touches a prop, and it comes over, and then it just and it just keeps skidding on its upside down, and you can see it's like rubbed away at the TPU. It's happened a bunch of times. So it's ground down the TPU here on the top edge. And it's hell on the battery straps because it just rubs the battery straps into the ground at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So yeah, these battery straps are just wrecked from that. 661 says the Maytech Diversity 2.4 receiver is amazing. There are no Noid spots, and I went just over a mile out on 25 milliwatts, flew behind a mountain, and completely lost video on 800 milliwatts video and no failsafe. Wow, that's really impressive. Expander says 2.4 is also a way bigger band. Very true. 661 says, yes, Ciotti, 900 megahertz band is tiny, and the 2.4 bandwidth is way bigger. That's a huge reason people are going to 2.4. More pilots in the air at once. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Now with DJI, we can put a whole bunch of pilots up in the air at once, which is different. So that's interesting. RC Ritter says, which Crossfire firmware are you running? 617 or something old school? I set my Crossfire up for the on with the Wi-Fi thingy, and I think that it now automatically downloads the updates. So I think I'm on whatever the newest version is. I say I think because I've never actually like looked into it, but there was a point a couple of weeks ago that all of my rigs were no longer bound, and I had to rebind them all, and that was right on top of a Crossfire update releasing. So I sort of assumed that that's what it was, but I should probably look into it. Although, I don't know, it just kind of works. Crossfire just works. Next time I go out and fly, though, I am going to be really careful with what I've heard about some Crossfire weirdness lately. So, yeah, I don't know. Should be fine, though. I'll find out. I'll let you guys know. I forgot to check if these FPV cycle battery straps are long enough. Yeah, they are. Okay, so we're good. Sometimes I put this gigantic 6S 2500 mAh battery on this rig. Actually, you know what? I probably won't put that battery on this rig anymore. It'll probably go on the Cineglide, since that's more of a long-rangey-ish rig. I love that battery on this rig with these, when it had those big motors and these big props, though, because it could really haul that battery around like a son of a bitch. Right, and there we go. A little bit more white on there. Tasty rig is tasty. Damn. These man, these motors are gonna. I can tell that they're gonna make some serious chutzpah. Is a word that I don't really know the answer, the meaning of, but I think I use it properly from context. 661 says Flight Fest had the world record for most pilots in the air at once. I don't know what the number was. Oh my god. But something like 400 planes in the air on 2.4. Holy shit. Big FPV says, I recently converted my 2 Mobula 6s to GNB27 connectors and finally bought some Nubidro Nitro Nectar batteries with the GNB27. Awesomely noticeable boost. I know you knew. Yeah, GNB27 is good. I prefer BT 2.0, to be honest. It's a little bit lighter, and it's almost as good in terms of resistance. The batteries, the other thing I like about BT 2.0 is the batteries have the plug right on the battery itself. The GNB 27s, they always add the little bit of extra wire. That is even more extra weight, and then the connector is also heavier. So a GNB 27 setup is going to be about a gram, maybe a little bit more than a gram heavier, and that makes a big difference on these really extreme freestyle tiny whoops. So yeah, I'm hoping that they can figure out how to get the GNB 27 plug directly on the battery itself to save that little bit of wire weight. We got that. YouTube did the thing, scrolling back up. It's bot grinder time, friends. I'm going to go full speed through these and give half-assed answers so you guys can go watch some freestyle videos. Grizz FPV says, just got the Speedy Cares package today. Going to put up a vid. Very cool. 661 says, only SPI ELRS has failsafes. I actually haven't had a failsafe yet, and I have a couple of SPI ELRSs. WAM FPV says, where do you get your foam landing gear pads? Impulse RC, WAM. It sucks to have to buy them from overseas, but their foam is better than anybody's. It's worth it. Yeah, Impulse RC has the best little foam for landing feet. You can also get shitty ones on Amazon and then use a zip tie to hold them to the arm. That works too, but the Impulse RC foam is the super secret stuff. Kevin Sumner says, but what if a Naminmo or Access Flying 2.4 just showed up in your mailbox? I don't know. Well, you know, I am going to be putting 2.4. I'm going to be putting ELRS into a couple of 3-inch rigs. So it would definitely get used with them. I don't know about anything bigger than that, though. But I don't know. We'll see. 661 says 2.4 LoRa is nothing the same as 2.4 FR Sky. It's a completely different game with LoRa. Yeah, very much so. 2.4 LoRa is also a very different game than Tracer, but we won't get into that in Vietnam. Yeah, there's absolutely no comparison between ELRS and old school 2.4 FR Sky. Those are two completely different things. Yeah, never ever ever get those two confused. It's night and day. Meadow Dirksen says, gonna run a motor limit on those. 2150 plus 6S plus 50 pops equals ESC might go boom. This is gonna have a serious motor limit. These propellers really only need like a 1600 kV motor to make all the power in the world. So yeah, there's gonna be like a 70%, 75% motor limit on this rig. Jason Black says, do you think the Expanse will ever come back? I hope so, although they left it in a very good spot. So if it doesn't come back, it's kind of fine, but I certainly hope that it does. Riot9 says, can confirm 4.3 end crossfire equals failsafe. Don't do it, lost one. Somebody on last night's stream, Riot9, though, said that they've fixed it already. Bob Noxious says, quack, 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 love you, bro. Gotta go to, Craig Mitchell says, those motors great, but let's just say I can't wait for the Unibells to come in stock, supposedly under 30 days, good luck. This rig is not gonna get crashed, so the Unibell, so it doesn't matter that they're the two-piece bells. Expander says, time to sleep, bye guys, bye, and I'm all caught up. Go watch some Bot Grinder, I love you guys. Here comes some random flying with raw audio. Let me make sure that the audio is gonna work. Click, share, like, subscribe, send my shit to a friend, see if they dig it, and I'll keep doing it. CiottiFPV.com for them nitpicks, and audio's working. Love you guys, be good, see you tomorrow! I don't know what time. Quad, what are you doing? Flipping over and shit. Why are these fucking arms all wiggly? Why is this arm so wiggly?